Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Brimley Games live stream. Today is a good one. We are going to be ranking the 18 villains before the Bigger and Badder expansion. If you didn't know already, the Bigger and Badder expansion came out yesterday. I was so excited. As you can see, I've got it right here. We went to Target and I picked it up last night and we did an unboxing of it. So if you're needing to see that, that is on the channel right now. But today we are going to be looking at what I think are the best villains, and I'm going to be ranking them from 1 to 18 so that you can see that. I'd love to hear your opinion on who you think is the best Disney villain. So we're going to get straight into it and bring it up right here. So you should be able to see my screen right here and see that there is all of the 18 villains. Ooh, we got Jarek here. Nice to see you, Jarek. I am excited for you guys to see the rankings as well. So what we're going to do this time is it's going to be a little bit different from our last one. The last time, if you saw it, it was from 15 all the way down to 1. This time, we're going to start with number 11 and go up to 18. And then when we get to 18, we'll drop back to 10 and go all the way down to 1. So then you get the top 10 villains as the last. I thought would be a good idea to bring that into here. So we will get started with this. And just so you know, with the sharing of this, I'm going to be on the other screen. So I won't see the comments until after I get back from talking about each villain. But I will come back between each so that we can be able to hear your comments, talk a little bit about it. So when I tell you what my ranking is, I would love to hear your thoughts on where you would put that villain, if I was too high or too low, and all of that. So we're going to get straight into it. So if you hadn't seen the Villainous Bigger and Badder, go check that out because we will be adding those in, obviously, in a future live stream ranking the 21 villains. So here are the 18 villains. Time to find out who is number 11. Ba-da-ba-da. Jafar. So I rank Jafar as number 11, and here's a little bit about him. So you have this here. He has a locked token, and something fun about him is it's a little bit of a puzzle. You have to open it with the Scarab Pendant and then play the magic lamp, which unlocks the genie, hypnotize the genie, then get the magic lamp over to the Sultan's palace without the heroes taking it from you. As you can see, Iago on the screen, Iago is helpful in getting the magic lamp over because he can move an item or an ally. And so, or just an item. Yeah, you can just move an item. But basically, his is a fun puzzle. But overall, there's a lot of villains I would rather be instead of Jafar. So that's why I put him at number 11 today. And as you see, this is what we're going to be showing for the rankings. We'll slowly put them in the bottom as they go. But if anybody has any comments between those, we'd love to see them. But for now, let's go on to number 12, Queen of Hearts. So the Queen of Hearts is one that is not my favorite to play. And I think a lot of that is based on how easy she is. Overall, every time that I have seen her played, it's been pretty easy to win. You have to get the card guards out, and then you have to convert them into wickets, and then you turn them on the side. Once you get 4 on the side, you can then take the shot. And it seems to me that most of the time, you are able to win fairly easy with Queen of Hearts. And so what happens is, when we play as Queen of Hearts now, you get faded right off the bat because everybody that I play with knows how easy she is. And so it's not the most fun. Plus, Alice in Wonderland overall isn't my favorite Disney movie. So this one, that's why she's at number 12. But overall, I know that she can be fun as well, trying to figure out all the stuff. But that was my number 12 ranking, which would be the Queen of Hearts. So now we're going to get on to number 13, the Evil Queen. So the Evil Queen is an interesting one because I feel like sometimes I like playing as her a lot more, and then other times I don't, which is why she falls this far back. So I'm going to explain a little bit. So she doesn't have a Vanquish action with the Brew Poison, and then you have to play Take a Bite to get rid of the heroes. The thing that is my biggest pet peeve with all of it is this right here. Snow White gets +1 strength for every other hero in the realm. So if fading is light, then Evil Queen is really, really fun to play as, and you can win in a sneak attack really easily. But if you get faded moderate to hard, then it gets really, really difficult because it blocks everything. Obviously, you have a lock token, but then it all starts adding up to Snow White. And so she gets more and more, and then you have to have a Take a Bite for each hero you defeat. And so if you want to get rid of heroes to free up locations, or if you get I think it's Doc, where you have to defeat him before you defeat Snow White, it gets pretty difficult. So that's the reason that I put Evil Queen as number 13. And here we are with the rankings again. And now we will get on to number 14, Lady Tremaine. Now, Lady Tremaine's from the most recent pack, Despicable Plots. And as you can see here, there's a lot going on, which is one of the things that I am not the most fond of when playing as Lady Tremaine. One of the biggest hardships I have with Lady Tremaine is the fact that you have to get Drizella or Anastasia out before Ballgown, Drizella, or Anastasia, because I'm sure many of you have played, and if you play as her and you get Ballgown, Drizella, and Ballgown, Anastasia early without the other ones, it's really difficult because you might have to discard one or just hold both of them until later in the game, which makes it hard to get the cards you need. So it's really hard when you have to get a card before another one, but that also leads to the puzzle aspect of it. So if you like those kind of things, then Lady Tremaine would be the perfect one for you. You have to unlock it with Invitation from the King, use the wedding bells when the Prince and Drizella are there, and of course, you can't have any glass slippers in there. So if there are any glass slippers there, you got to get rid of them in order to win as Lady Tremaine. But that is the current ranking. We've got 11, 12, 13, and 14. So on to number 15, Ursula. So one of the main reasons I put Ursula up this high in my rankings is this right here, the locked location. Now, for those who haven't seen Ursula before, there's only one locked location on her, but it will shift back and forth between these two locations whenever you play Changed Form. And I don't know if it's the same for all of you. Let me know in the comments, but I personally don't like locked locations. And so with hers, there's literally no way to ever get rid of them. And so that can be a little bit hard when you always have a location that is locked. But when I've played as her, it is somewhat fun to try to get the binding contracts, move around, move the lock, and try to unlock the location you need. But again, having a locked location all the time is kind of a bummer. So that leads us to our current rankings. Now we're going to have three more, 16, 17, 18, and then we'll get straight into the top 10. So number 16 is Cruella de Vil. Now, one of the hard things with Cruella de Vil that I found, and again, this is a really good puzzle one if that's something you enjoy, is the fact that Jasper and Horace are the only allies. So if you have a lot of heroes and you need to get rid of them, it makes it a little bit hard, especially because Jasper and Horace are the main ways you're going to be able to get the puppy tokens out and then collect them. So one thing, obviously, the fireplace poker helps with that to not get rid of them. But it's really hard when you have, like, if people fate you and block both activate abilities up here, then it kind of makes it so that their abilities are almost negligent or negligible, whatever the word is. But that's one of the reasons why Cruella de Vil is hard for me, is when you get blocked by the fates and they're the only allies. And so you have to use them to get rid of heroes, but then that's what you need for the puppies. But that being said, there are some other cards, I think, like the telephone or things like that help you get them back. And so, again, if you like a little bit more of a challenge, then Cruella de Vil is a perfect one for you to be able to use. So that's the current ranking. And we're getting down to my two least favorite. Let's see this right now. Number 17, Mother Gothel. So Mother Gothel, whenever I've played as her, it has been very, very difficult. My wife, actually, when she played as her, was so close to winning against one of her cousins. He ended up winning. He had Captain Hook. But with this, Sabrina was able to get up to 10 trust, and she just had to start her turn, and then Captain Hook came out on top. That was, I think, possibly the closest I've ever seen. I can't remember if I've ever seen Mother Gothel win. But basically, Rapunzel moves closer to Corona every single turn, and if she's already there and can't move, then that's when you lose a trust. So all your hard-earned trust starts going out the window. One thing that I have seen is that the hairbrush is almost necessary in order to win. I know you can win without it, but for me, that seems like a really, really good way to be able to rack up some trust pretty fast. And then, of course, the Stabbing Brothers are really nice to help out with that. So, moment of truth. We are going to have the number 18, but first, we have a comment from Jarek. And yes, there is that card that lets you have the activate action, and that is really nice. For me, it's a little bit hard when you are trying to do it, and that's the only time you can use the activate ability. So you can use it like once or twice, depending on how many cards there are, which that is super, super nice. So you have to just kind of play around with it. But yeah, the activate abilities, I really wish that Cruella had one on the lower section that couldn't be blocked by fate. That would make me enjoy playing as her a lot more. But right before we get on to number 18, my least favorite villain, let me know who you think it's going to be, or let me know who your least favorite villain to play as is. But let's get into number 18, the Horned King. Now, the Horned King for me, I think I might have just had a bad experience. And I'm definitely open to that idea because if you've watched the past ranking, a lot of the villains shifted spots, some from way back to very low in my rankings. So why do I not like the Horn King? It kind of leads up to this card right here. For me, with the Horn King, it's kind of hard when you have to get the Ancient Soldiers first and then turn them into the Cauldron Born one at a time. So sometimes, especially if you start getting Cauldron Born early in the game, they're going to stack up in your hand. And so I had the experience where I had, I think, 2 Cauldron Born at least in my hand, and this card came out and I had to discard my hand. It was either me or Caleb or whatever, but it was a mess when you are working so hard towards it, and then that card just sets you back, which obviously if you don't have them in your hand, that can be really good. It can help you get to the cards before. But for me, that was a really, really hard scenario that came up. And so that's one of the reasons why Horn King is number 18. But again, I need to give it another shot and see if I can be able to pull it off and hopefully not get the I Believe in You card out. But those are my least favorites from 11 to 18. And before we get into my top 10, I see that we have a comment here. My problem with Mother Gothel is you spend so much time doing strategy, playing, earning trust, when fate cards just take them away so fast, plus Rapunzel's. Yeah, it's really hard for me because you spend so much time, like you're saying, getting trust, and then you lose it all with Rapunzel. Or you spend so much time trying to keep Rapunzel away from Corona that you're not gaining the trust. And so it's a really hard mechanic. But for those who can figure it out, mad props to you, because if you can win as Mother Gothel, you are like the villainous champion of all time, because that is such a hard one to win in my opinion. Okay, so now on to the top 10. Let's get into number 10 right here with Scar. Now, one of the reasons why I like Scar, honestly, is because I like the Lion King. But basically with Scar, and he's also at 10, he's not someone that I wouldn't want to, like, he's not someone that I vehemently oppose playing as, but he's also not some of my first picks. So that's why he's kind of in the middle here. But basically, you have to try to get all of these allies out to help defeat the heroes. Something that can be really hard that I've seen is the Rafiki stick, and I've heard horror experiences of people getting the Rafiki stick played on Mufasa and things like that. And so it can be a little bit difficult, but it's also kind of a fun challenge to put the Hungry Hyenas all in one location and get them super powerful to take out the heroes. So that was my number 10, and we are going to get on to number 9, Yzma. Now, Yzma, again, she's, oh, what? That was a little bit out of order. So Yzma, she is really fun because of all the cards. I put on some of the funny quotes. Smash with a hammer, path of righteousness, the path that rocks, cruel irony, beware the groove, wrong lever. There's so many good quotes from Emperor's New Groove, and they're all incorporated so well into Yzma's. And she's kind of in the middle for me. If her playing style was a little bit more to my liking, she'd probably be lower because of how good the cards are. But that's why she's at a number 9 for me. These 4 piles up here make it a little bit more complex, especially for beginners. But you can also use that to your favor when playing as Yzma, because if not everybody who you're playing against knows how she works, you can use that to your advantage to come up with a sneak attack win. Okay, so this leads to where we are at the ranking with Yzma at number 9. Now, number 8, we have Pete. So Pete is very, very fun because of the 4 goals you can get. The 4 goals are going to be upside down, and they come at random. So your opponents know what they could be, but they don't know for sure unless obviously fate cards come out that allow you to reveal it. But something that's really fun with Pete as well is you can add these items, and they give you extra actions you can take at those locations. And that's always fun to have new actions that you can be able to take. And so that's one of the reasons why Pete's down there. He's also he's on the fairly easy side to win with, which is fun if you're wanting a quick win. And so that is where Pete is number 8. I'm going to take a quick water break. Let me know who you think. Now we're coming on to the top 7. Who is your favorite villain to play as? I'd love to see that in the comments. Excuse me there. I had the water go down the wrong pipe there. Sorry about that. Okay, let's get into number 7, Gaston. So he definitely is my favorite of the new Despicable Plots pack. And so with him, you have to get rid of all 8 obstacles. And there's some pretty fun things that you can do with that. As you can see here, I've included the 2 cards that if you play them right, you could potentially get rid of 5 out of the 8 obstacles in just one turn. Now, that would be very difficult to do because, as you can see, there's the 8 power here, and there's no 3 power action on Gaston's board. So it's difficult to get power with him, but if you can pull it off right, it can be really fun to pull something off like that and do kind of a sneak attack victory because, as you see, it's only remove all 8 obstacles. And that's something that I love with the villains is when it doesn't have the start your turn with this in order to win, because then it makes it so that you can pull off those sneak attack victories, which are my favorite to do. Okay, we are coming down to the bottom 6. And before we do, we have a comment here. I like Horn King, Evil Queen, and Prince John. So I'm sorry to say that Horn King and Evil Queen were so high up on my list, but as you can see, Prince John survived to the top 6. So we'll see where he lands in here. But if anybody else has any, let me know in the comments. Okay, so on to number 6, Ratigan. Now, speaking of sneak attack victories, that's where this is a really fun one for me. It's really intriguing and challenging one, especially the understanding part of it, because his objective can switch in the middle. And so one of my favorite things to do is to get the robot queen out fast and then try to get her over, because obviously if you get her over, then you can win the game. But if you get the robot queen out, you can also bait out Basil. And then if Basil gets rid of the robot queen, then now he's out. And all you have to do is defeat Basil. And so if you do things like bring out the cat, which I think her name is Felicia, if I'm right, you can bring that out and help defeat Basil really quickly, get a sneak attack victory, which are my favorite. And so that's why Ratigan is number 6 for me. Okay, we are now getting into the top 5. Let's see who number 5 is right now. Prince John. So Prince John, I used to not like playing him as much because it was really hard starting with the power. Like, you have to focus so much on the power that you're not able to focus on buying the cool cards and triggering the cool abilities, or at least I thought. But then when I played him more recently, I realized how fun the warrants were, because you have 3 warrants, and if you can successfully put them all here, then it dissuades them from playing fates on you. And if they do play a fate on you, then you'll gain power, or they'll be put in the jail, and so they're not as hard against you. So it's really fun trying to figure out the balance. Something that's really difficult about Prince John is obviously his is a very visible character to see where you are on your path to your objective. If they can count how many you have, then they know how close you are to 20. And again, you have to start your turn with it. So it's a little bit hard when you have to, when you have that 20 and then somebody takes it away right before your turn. That's a really big bummer. But now we are on to the bottom 4. Okay, Hades. So I put Hades here. And one of my favorite cards in his deck is definitely the Chariot. It allows you to, once per turn, if you're at that location, you can move Hades in the Chariot to another location and perform an action at that location. So it's really fun to get that extra action, and also can be used for something like if you had the Chariot here, you could move yourself with the Chariot and then come back here on your next turn, which is a really fun way to get that extra power and those 2 actions at that location. So you're going to try to get the Titans over. It's a very visible one as well. People can see it. And Hercules and Zeus are the ones that are really good at stopping Hades, but there are ways around it. And so it's really fun trying to just figure out that puzzle of how to get Hades to pass all of them. Okay, so puzzle for me, Jafar, and standard Hades. Yeah, so I definitely like those aspects of Jafar and Hades. They're definitely a little bit of a puzzle, but not as difficult of a puzzle as like Mother Gothel and Cruella de Vil, because those ones just kind of get frustrating for me, along with the Horned King. Okay, bottom 3. Let's see who's next. We've got Maleficent. Okay, so Maleficent is one that I honestly, I think if you look back at the old ranking, my 15 villain ranking, I think she was number 12. I put her so high up because I think it was mostly because I hadn't played as her, and I'd seen horror experiences where my sister-in-law would always choose Maleficent, and then she would get up to 4, and then we'd take them all away, and it was really sad. And so I didn't want that to happen to me, because I knew that was a very visible thing, and so people would attack you. But in playing it, I was able to see that you could get 2 of them out, and then before they know it, you can get the other 2 out in 1 turn, and then pull off that sneak attack victory. So yes, they can fate you, but hopefully it will stand up for the next round. Also, the Raven, like the Chariot, is so good you can move the Raven and perform an available action at his new location, which is so nice to be able to do, because then you get that extra action in there, and it makes it so much easier to be able to get everything done that you need to. Okay, we are down to the final two, Captain Hook and Dr. Facilier. And if you remember right, Captain Hook and Dr. Facilier were my top two before, so that has not changed. Now it's time to find out who is number two. Captain Hook. Captain Hook is very fun. So first of all, Peter Pan has to be immediately played when he is revealed, which can be fun because sometimes people will not want to fate you because they don't want to get Peter Pan, which can be nice. But also if they do fate you, they help get Peter Pan. So it's a double-edged sword that is actually good. It's helpful. And then as you can see here, like Pete, there are extra cards that you can be able to play, and they will allow you to be able to get extra actions that you can take at those specific locations, which is really, really nice. And then right here, this is by far one of my favorite strategies with Captain Hook, is just to fill all of the allies over at that end. And then once you get Peter Pan over, you can defeat him really fast. And so it makes it a game of just trying to get out the Neverland map to unlock it, and then get Peter Pan out and move him because you've already had all of those allies there waiting for him to come. Okay, it's not hard to see here who is going to be number one, so we'll get straight into it. Dr. Facilier. If I had to choose to play a game of Villainous, my number one pick would definitely be Dr. Facilier. I love his everything about how his works. I love that you are able to get everything in a fun way, and you have to get the talisman out and rule New Orleans, but you can pull it off to where you can play one of them, and then you can play the other with Cards Will Tell if you still have that to play a card action open. And you're able to then get them out in kind of a sneak attack way, which I've been talking about a lot this live stream. But basically, when you get Rule New Orleans into here and then play the Cards Will Tell, you look through 3 of the cards, and then if Rule New Orleans is there, you're going to win the game, unless there's that one card in there that says you don't. But his is very fun. I also had one of my favorite games of Villainous playing as Dr. Facilier, because I was able to move back and forth between the fates, and I believe I was able to fate every single turn against Caleb, and that video is still on the channel. It was a pretty funny one to be able to pull that off. Like, he would fate me and cover it up, and I'd be able to vanquish it. Like you could see here, I could vanquish it and then still be able to use it on that same turn. So that was a pretty fun one to be able to see. And so this is my full ranking, and I want to know, what would your ranking look like if you had to rank all 18 villains? And let's see. What's shocking is one of my streamers doesn't like Dr. Facilier because of his random Cards Will Tell. Yeah, I guess I totally understand that. And the more I play as him, I have seen some scenarios where there's a lot in there, and so it makes it really difficult when you can't get that. I think the last live stream we had on the channel playing through Villainous, we had Dr. Facilier against Captain Hook, and Mama Odie was out, and so I could only pull 2 instead of 3, which made it really, really difficult to be able to get that thing to work. But I don't know, something about him, it just makes it really fun for me, and so I really enjoy that. But I'm going to pass it off to you. What is your favorite villain to play as? What is your least favorite villain to play as? And the new Bigger and Badder is out, so be on the lookout on the channel. We are going to have more stuff coming out with this here soon, and so I'm really excited for you guys to see that. And we got another comment here from Quinn. I like Captain Hook, but the taunt card is frustrating. Yes, I totally agree with that, which playing as someone who's playing against Captain Hook, the taunt card is my favorite of all time. It's so fun to be able to just throw that out and thwart the plans. But yes, when you're playing as Captain Hook, that definitely is one of the most frustrating cards, especially when played on something like the Lost Boys, because you have to use 2 allies to defeat them, or like if you add in a bunch of different things and you have Wendy out there that increases the strength of the heroes and all of that. So those are my rankings. And for those who are still here, I want to let you know we're going to be having the live stream this Saturday to be able to play with all 3 of these villains, see who's going to come out on top. I'm so pumped for that. And I want to know your thoughts. Who are your favorite out of these ones? I am really excited to try Syndrome and the other ones. I really like the idea of Lotso and Madame Mim as well, but I think Syndrome is the one that I want to see play out the most. But if you have anybody that you would want to see in a future Villainous one who's not in Villainous, let me know in the comments, because there's a lot of more Disney villains out there that have not been added, and there's a lot that I really want to be added here soon. So that'll end it for today. Thank you so much for being on this live stream. I really appreciate your help and support, and I hope you guys have a great night, We'll see you soon. Bye.